Old School Lane Casual Chats is brought to you by Old School Lane, producing various content from blogs, videos, and podcasts discussing about movies, TV shows, video games, and everything else in between since 2011. You can check out the podcast on Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Radio Public, Overcast, Breaker, Pocket Cast, and YouTube. We're associated with Channel Frederator, Manic Expression, The Comic Book Cast, and The Arun Mehta Show. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Casual Chats. I am Patricia, and I am here with two very special guests. The first guest that we have on the show is an actor and a writer and producer. You may know him for his work on Spider-Man, Mad, and various other programs. He was also the host in Where in Time is Carmen Sandiego. We have Kevin Shinick. Welcome back, Kevin.
Well, thanks so much. It's good to be here.
And we also have ourselves our other special guest. You may know him for various things, such as Total Panic, Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, Doug, and various other projects. He's an actor, he's a comedian, and a producer. We have Greg Lee. So welcome back, Greg.
Oh, we lost Greg.
Uh-oh.
Right out of the gate.
Oh,
Nice
boy.
to be back. Nice to be with my buddy.
Oh, there we go. Hello, Greg. So, yeah, we're in a historical moment here at this podcast post because this is the very first time that these two have ever been in a podcast together. Yeah, this is an honor, and I have to say thank you both for coming onto the podcast, not only to, talk about a very special project, but also to, maybe answer some questions about various things that we didn't talk about last time. So, yeah, several years ago, I had both of them individually on the podcast, interviewing them about their time working on their respective Carmen Sandiego game shows and various other projects that they were a part of. So this time around, we're going to be promoting a project that they're working on together. So it is called Host Mortem, a grown-up game show gumshoe graphic novel, which is about two fake detective show hosts from the 1990s who have to solve a case of real murders from the 1940s. So, yeah, right before we get into that project, I just have to know that even though that you two hosted different incarnations of Carmen Sandiego, you guys didn't even know each other until like a few years ago. So I'd like to know about that story.
Sure. Well, Greg,
Kevin
do you,
tells the story.
I love we just pass off to each other. Well, I was saying earlier that, we both have a friend, Jamie, who worked on both our shows. And it wasn't until, I can't remember the exact year, like 2017 but, within recent memory that Jamie invited both of us to a film he was doing at a film fest. And that's the first time that Greg and I met. And, I like to think it was love at first sight, but, we met, we hit it off and we said, let's stay in touch. And then neither of us did really. We did a little bit, but then I had this crazy idea and I reached out to Greg and said, Greg, I want to do a graphic novel about us, two fake detective game show hosts from the 90s who have to solve a series of real murders in the 1940s. And like the good friend that has wound up being, he was like, I'm in.
Wow, that's crazy to think about that. It's crazy to think about the fact that you just so happen to have met and many years later you decide to collaborate on this project together. So I need to know, where did the idea come from?
It's so funny because, the time and the age we're living in, it's this business is difficult. It contracts, it changes, there are mergers, or all sorts of stuff. And the industry goes through many phases. And then I kept thinking, well, what do I have to offer personally? Everything's been done, everything is, all anybody wants is IP and blah, blah, blah. And so I always loved noir. And I had been working on this noir detective series that I was going to do as a TV pilot. And people were like, oh, yeah, but everybody loved it, but no one wanted to make it because, quote unquote, nobody does period. But of course, everything I watch on television is period. So I don't know where that comes from. However, someone said, you should turn this into a graphic novel. And I said, that's a great idea. But again, I don't think it cuts through the noise. There are other graphic novels about noir detectives, and also and there are some great ones. I said, again, what do I have to offer that I think is unique? And then it dawned on me that I played myself as a time traveling detective in Where in Time is Carmen Sandiego. And my good friend Greg Lee played a classic gumshoe detective, played himself as a classic gumshoe detective. And I thought, wait a minute, I'm sitting on our two detectives. So that's when I called up Greg and asked him if he would be part of this. And what's so funny, Patricia, is although Greg and I only recently connected, if you consider 2017 or a 2018 recent, but I swear to God, he is like my long lost brother. We are fast friends, and we live in the same town. So, it's really just a dream come true.
Wow. And Greg, when you were told about this idea from Kevin, what were your reactions towards it?
I've always known that Kevin is an extremely talented guy. He still works as an actor. He still works as a writer. His voiceover work is phenomenal. And anything that Kevin said he wanted me to be a part of, I just felt honored to be a part of it. And look, this is really Kevin's project. He's drugged me along, and made it our project. But I mean, this is his brainchild pushing this all through. And I thought it was a fantastic idea, and it was hilarious. And he's just one of the most talented people I know. So it was easy to say yes to him. And the fact that he constantly makes me laugh all the time. It was, well, why wouldn't I spend more time with Kevin? Of course, that would be funny. My wife even says to me, she can tell when Kevin's texting because I immediately start really belly laughing. So it's not really a hard decision for me to do. I'm going to write everything, and I just want you to come along for it, and you can laugh and have a good time. I mean, you may have to take a picture once in a while. It's just my favorite thing to do, but okay, we'll get to take a picture. That's the hardest thing I have to do. It's an easy yes for me to hang out with Kevin. So, it's great.
You're very sweet, Greg. You're very sweet. A
I
good
mean,
liar, and you're very sweet.
Thank you.
I would
The lying
think that
part.
if it wasn't for your talents, Greg, that I'm sure that Kevin wouldn't even consider bringing you a part of this, because I think that the two of you have this great dynamic that could absolutely work for a situation like this.
It's absolutely true. Greg undersells his talents and his importance in the universe, I feel. He's done so much, and he's recognized for all the work that he's done. He was on Doug, he was on Where in the World. He was, he's done pilots, he's done series. And, coming into Carmen Sandiego, these were big shoes to fill. I was aware of Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, and I was aware of Greg, and I knew that. And it was kind of like, you just defer to the greatness. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to do my best. And, for this show. And I still remember the audition. Greg, I don't know what your audition was like for Carmen Sandiego, but they had 6 rounds of callbacks. So I kept thinking like,
oh, there were many.
Lord. And then I still remember to this day, my agent at the time called. I was after the 6th audition, and I was waiting and waiting to hear. And this is back when everybody had voicemails and stuff. I checked my voicemail, and my agent literally goes, "Hey, give me a call." And I thought, oh, God, no, I didn't get it after all that. So I call her. I'm like, what happened? She's like, well, you got it. And I was like, what? And she was like, I'm just busted on you. So I got that. But again, Greg looms large. And so on one hand, it was intimidating. But after you get to meet Greg, and I think that's one of his specialities, is the fact that you do feel like you've known him your whole life. And so when we came together, it really was a no-brainer. And I since we met, I kept thinking like, I'd love to work with Greg on something, but I don't know what. Maybe we should put up the Odd Couple somewhere, Greg. We can tour with
Hey,
it.
I like that. That'd be fun.
And then when I came up with this, I thought, oh my gosh, I think I found the perfect thing for Greg and I.
Well, now you're just teasing me. Now I want to see a tour of the both of you.
Spread
Whether
the
it's
word,
Carmen
Patricia.
Sandiego, whether it's this book, I don't know, but I want to see the both of you tour nationwide and just do whatever.
I agree. I agree. We're the new Martin Short and Steve Steve Martin.
I mean, it wouldn't be off the cuff because the both of you have toured for Carmen Sandiego in the past. So this is a
Yes,
great opportunity for the both of you to, show your stuff again. And, next year is actually the 40th anniversary of the PC game. So I think it's perfect.
that is perfect. That's a great idea. We're going to jump on that. See, it all
Yes.
started here, Patricia.
Yes. Absolutely. So yeah, now going into the post mortem. So yeah, I like to know what is it specifically about the 1940s that you guys decided to have the story set into where you time travel towards?
Well, Greg and I, again, we have a lot in common. We love films, we love all sorts of things. And I've always loved 40s noir. And I've done a lot of research about it because I told you I was working on that pilot about this, detective and stuff. And so then again, being a history buff, that wasn't a role I was playing on Carmen Sandiego. I am a history buff and I love this. So I would always do a deep dive and find out things. And so I found out some information about like the classic noir film, The Big Sleep with Humphrey Bogart. And I thought with a little tweaking, there could be a nice mystery there. But what also dawned on me was, yes, again, the tagline for this graphic novel, and I'm hoping to turn it into like a live improv game show. But the hook is, are hosts really smart, or do they just have the answers? And the great thing about going back in time is we have the benefit of knowing history. We have the benefit of knowing how certain things played out and bits of information that only came out years later. For instance, in this graphic novel, The Big Sleep was shot in 1946 and was about to be released, and they decided they want to recut it and put more scenes with Lauren Bacall in it. So this only became public knowledge like in the 90s when they found it and they put it on the DVD and stuff. But if you know that, and if there happens to be a murder around The Big Sleep, you might say like, hey, was anybody recast in that recut? Things that we know from experience now, which people in the 40s didn't know. So it's kind of like we have a leg up because of the time travel element.
Yeah, I think that that's actually pretty interesting because I guess it does make a lot of sense that those 40 noir films would be a great setting for this particular story. You have, these people from modern times trying to solve an old story, and whether they have the advantage of using modern technology to solve the story, or they're just people who just so happen to play as these characters, not knowing what to do in this old setting, is I can see a lot of possibilities with it. I can see like a little bit of Galaxy Quest mixed into it, where you
Yeah,
have
exactly.
these people who played as these actors who played as these intelligent space travelers in a TV show, and then when real aliens bring them over thinking that they can be able to help them out, they can't because they're just actors. So yeah, I can see the possibility of like two game show hosts who are brought into a real scenario, and now all of a sudden they have to actually do what they can to actually solve this mystery. I
Right. They
like
have
to.
to know everything they claim to know without
Right.
looking down at their cue cards.
Right. So yeah, how long did the process of coming up with the story and putting it all together? How long did that
Gosh,
take?
it's an ongoing process. It's not even like the artist is working on it as we speak, but writing it, I'd say took me about a year. Um, it's going to be upwards of 180 pages. And like I said, because it's a mystery, I write comic books. I've written for Marvel, for DC, I've written Batman, Spider-Man, Guardians of the Galaxy, The Flash, all that stuff. And so I know creating a comic, I always look as like a puzzle because I know it has to hit a number of boxes. You've got usually 20 pages to tell a story. You want it to be interesting. You shouldn't have more than 7 panels on a page. You want to do something that's going to make your artist happy, that he or she gets to draw. You want every page to kind of be a little bit of a page turner. So all that puzzling goes into any comic book. And then on top of that, to make it a mystery and to make it funny and all that stuff, it took time to like plot it out and organize it and figure out, again, how can I do this in the pages allotted? How can I do this without, as little with as little dialogue as possible, because you don't want a big wordy page. So there's a lot that goes into it. And it's, like I said, it's taken about a year. But then I have to call out right now, I found this amazing artist named Damian Torres. I was looking for a very specific style for this 40s, very, noir, but also, a special look that you would recognize as soon as you saw it. And he really nails this book. So I was quick to grab him because he's going to take off very soon. So that's why I'm happy I have him now. And I have colors, gorgeous colors by Pippa Bolin. And then on my lettering is such elegant lettering by Taylor Esposito. So that's the team that have done this. And again, I'm just hoping to get it out there because I think people are really going to enjoy it.
I also really think that, from what I've seen in the teaser trailer, that I believe that there could be a chance that it will catch on, because not only because the fact that you two are working on it, but the fact that the concept is really, really intriguing. And I think that more people will be really interested in learning more about it. And yeah, I'm just really curious about, what the next step is going to be if it becomes a success. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. So yeah, were
Yeah,
there
but
any
all this stuff, we're getting ahead of ourselves, and yet you can never be ahead of yourselves. I may have done this completely backwards, but you can only do things as they come to you. So this graphic novel is going to be on Kickstarter. If you don't have a link here on that we can share, I would say go to Kickstarter and search Host Mortem. And because the launch date sometimes varies, I'd say sign up now. There's never signing up too soon. There's a place to sign up that way you'll be notified of launch dates and early bird specials. And there's Greg and I came together. He likes to downplay his involvement of this, but he's really been so generous. And so we have a lot of unique rewards. In addition to just trying to, get the book out there, we're also offering, in addition to like artwork and special versions of the book, we're offering Zooms with Greg and I, videos from Greg and I. I'm offering to lend my voice to your next project. We're both offering you can have dinner with us and discuss your hopes and dreams. So there's a lot of creativity gone into these rewards to see to make it interesting and to make it an incentive for people to want to own this book.
I'm sure that for a lot of ambitious projects like this, was there anything that was on the cutting room floor that you wanted to add into it, but you couldn't, either because of time constraints or you wanted to clean the story up a little bit?
Absolutely. And that comes to kind of evolves nicely into what I was talking about of the evolution of this or the future of this. So this graphic novel is Greg and I. And at one point I had very ambitious ideas of trying to involve other hosts, from other 90s shows who played detectives, and, whether it be the Blues Clues guys or, the guy from Figure It Out or any of these hosts. And I realized it got too much for the story. The story was getting overwhelmed by too many characters. So I pared that back to just Greg and I a little bit. There's a hint of what's to come. But in doing that, I thought to myself, this would be a great kind of improv murder mystery detective game show. And so I'm starting to put together this live version of Host Mortem, which will involve all sorts of different hosts. I've got people like Donovan Patton from Blues Clues who said he'd be interested in partaking in the game show. We've got Mark Summers who said he'd be interested in partaking in the game show. We've got nostalgia hosts. We've got current hosts. Wait a minute, Greg is back and he looks different. How do we know you're not a clone?
You don't.
Wait a second. This is time travel. This may be like a different version, alternate reality, Greg.
This is multiverse Greg.
Right,
This
exactly.
is episode 4.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Greg, I
Go
was
ahead.
just sharing with Patricia that things that were cut from this book, I was hoping to involve other hosts, and it seemed like it was getting too big. So I cut that back. But in doing this game show idea that you and I have talked about.
Right.
I've gotten, commitments from, I said, Blues Clues guys, current hosts, old hosts, and we're opening it up to all types of hosts. Nostalgia host, current host, TV host, radio host, podcast host. Patricia, you could be on this.
Oh, that'd be awesome. I love that.
So we're gonna start by doing like a monthly show in Los Angeles and see where it gets us. But first things first, none of this can happen until we successfully fund the Host Mortem graphic novel. So again, if you're listening and you're the least bit interested, and that's the fun thing about it is writing this thing was I had so much fun because it encapsulates everything I love. Game shows, history, movies, trivia, comedy, comic books, Greg Lee, all my favorite things. So if you like any of those things, then I encourage you to check out the Kickstarter, watch the trailer, and as I was mentioning before, a whole list of creative incentives in the rewards programs.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, why don't you go more in I think that now that Greg is here, we can go more into the creative incentives.
Oh, Greg, I was just sharing with them how
Yeah.
I've roped you into, but how generous you've been in letting us, offer up videos from us, Zoom calls with us, dinner with us. There are, again, this is the first podcast we've ever done together. This Host Mortem is the first project we've ever done together. So wouldn't it be great to get a dual video or Zoom call or dinner with the two of us? We're hoping.
We're fun at dinner.
Exactly.
We do good dinners.
Greg's a good tipper.
Ah. Very nice. So yeah, I know that for the most part, Kevin is the writer and the minds behind it. But I'm sure that Greg, you've actually put in some contribution to the project. I'd like to know from that perspective.
Well,
Well,
Greg is, I would say right now, I'm going to jump in. You can say I'm talking too much. Greg is my muse in not just on Host Mortem, but in life. I discovered late in life that Greg is my muse.
he never
That's-
knew. His whole career, he never knew. It's been me the whole time.
Oh, that's very nice.
Well, really, for me. It's really just been honestly. Again, I have to say this is all Kevin's brainchild. It's his brilliance on everything, And I'm a writer as well, but this is his thing. This is his baby, and if it's fun for him to have me along, I'm thrilled to be along for the ride. I think it's a brilliant idea.
But what's amazing too is Greg and I have such a great rapport, and all we do is laugh when we're together. And that kind of inspired me to maybe spin off into this possible game show. Because, like other game shows like Wait, Don't Tell Me or something like that, they're game show in name mostly. It's really an opportunity just to be funny and have fun and hang a hat on the term game show. And so we have so much fun hanging out together that I thought I want to capture this and put it in front of an audience, and like I said, the opportunity to put more hosts in my graphic novel seemed a little too ambitious, but I thought if I can get other hosts and we all get up there on stage and prove, are we smart or do we just have the answers, then I think we could duplicate a lot of the fun that we've already been having.
Yeah, I like to know like your years of doing hosts. Like, what are some of the things that you've learned that eventually was able to better your career and eventually putting it into this book?
Greg, I want to hear about your hosting experience.
Well, I was just going to say shoe inserts is the main thing I would tell you. Because if you have shoe inserts,
You mean like lifts?
no, I mean like those insoles that help your feet from
Oh, that's right.
Because you just stayed on the concrete of the studio all day. I don't know if that happened to you, Kevin, but I would get shin splints so bad because I was wearing those dopey Chuck's Converse, which I love the way they look, but man, they don't have any support. And I remember it took me 2 years to figure out why are my legs killing me? I should be better than this. And then someone said, you should put some shoe inserts in there. You'll feel a lot better. And it's the key. It's the key to hosting for me.
Well, it's the key to life. Don't they say comfortable shoes?
It's the key to life.
I think I have that beat, Greg, because Wendy was our costume designer, and mine was this space-aged. It wasn't that space-age. It was a blue Eisenhower jacket and some very slick pants. The second season, but they were so slick that they didn't want them to crinkle. So 4.5, 5 shows a day, they didn't let me sit down.
Now that's not right.
They built me what's called a leaning board.
That's not right, Kevin. That's not right. That's
I didn't know I had union rights back then. Someone needed to be done.
We've never talked about this, Patricia, because I did a commercial one time where they wouldn't let me sit one time either because they said, "Wait, these pants, you're going to crinkle these pants." And I said, "What do you mean? We're here for 12 hours. Like, of course I'm sitting." I was taking my pants off and on, putting them back on all day long.
Exactly. I take them out for lunch, sit in my boxers and eat lunch in my dressing room, and then go back and lean against the board when I got tired.
Leaning board? I've never heard that.
It was so funny. It was a leaning board because Patricia, we would do like at least 4 shows a day, 2 before lunch, 2 after. And, I forget, Greg, if you were the same in terms of, it was like, I can't remember how many weeks it was, but I would literally, you finish a long day of shooting, and then they give you the script for the 4 scripts for tomorrow. You're looking at them on the way home in the car. You go to bed, you wake up, you come back into makeup at like 6 a.m. and you get back to that leaning board.
That's horrible. That's really horrible. I would like to put my protest in 30 years late.
All right. Well, that's the great thing about time travel. We'll go back and we'll put in our complaints. That'll be a fun episode.
I think
we're
going back and
putting in written complaints.
We'll have this whole scene recreated with Patricia, where I just find out about the leaning board. We go back and find out not only was there a leaning board, but there was a dead body behind the
exactly.
board.
But, that's what I'll work in. If we do a sequel, I'll work a leaning board into it.
That's horrible. Whose idea was that? That's terrible.
Well, I'm sure Wendy was the costume designer who was like, "I don't want you to wrinkle these." I did a
this is not wrinkly, but at the leaning board, that's crazy.
Well, I know. It had a little thing. I just lean up. It was like I was basically on like I don't know, what do you call those things that you with wheels on them that you can put them back. I so don't like manual labor that I can't even think of the name of the
You were in a dolly?
A dolly. That's what I call it, a dolly.
Oh my gosh.
You're on a dolly.
I was on a dolly, but it wasn't even a fancy dolly. It was just a plank of wood, and they angled it so I could lean back.
People walking by. Hi, Kevin.
The kids would walk by, see their heroes leaning against a board. That's the life. That's what I want to aspire to. I don't know, I mean, this is not a little different, but and people are used to this all the time if you're in the business, but I remember doing a Juan Valdez Colombian coffee commercial. And during the break, they put holes in Hefty bags, and they made us all wear these giant Hefty bags so we didn't get food on our costumes.
Oh my Lord.
The things we do for our art.
Yeah.
I broke a toe during a commercial one time. I broke my big toe.
Did you really?
Hmm?
What was the commercial for?
The same one where they wouldn't let me take off my pants.
Oh.
And they said jump up on these movie seats. So I jumped up on there. It was a whole scene. I was jumping up on the movie seat. The movie seat popped like this, and my toe went down and busted. And so now I have to stand on my broken toe.
Oh my God! Does that still bother you? The toe?
The toe, no, but the whole incident really still. My therapist and I still talk about it. It's terrible.
I ask only because I was doing an A.R. Gurney play back in 1993, and I had to have a tantrum, and I would always kick the side of the stage, and I think I broke my toe. And to this day, it still hurts like when it rains, and I'm like, why does my toe hurt? Oh, only I didn't have to kick that. I mean, no one told me to kick it, but I'm sure I channeled my whatever.
Broken toes are bad. They're bad.
I know. Oh, these and other exciting stories from Hollywood.
Anyway, does that answer your question, Patricia? I forget what it was now. But...
No. I got the gist of it, but thank you.
She went out and got a drink while we were chatting. She was like, "I'm going to put this on mute. Maybe take care of some chores."
I wish Greg would lose the signal again and be gone for 15 minutes. To derail the interview whenever he shows up.
No. The show's called Casual Chats for a reason. But no, I mean, this is great because I think that knowing about this perspective of the acting business is something that is very important for our listeners because, we have a lot of people who want to be able to get involved in the industry, whether they want to be actors or actresses or writers or producers or directors. So getting to know the good and the bad and the weird is
Not all
actually really,
glamour,
really
kids.
great.
It's not all glamour.
No.
No.
I think it's all really important for them to know that there's some things that, even though it looks glamorous when you see it on TV or when you see it on a commercial or something, it's not as all cracked up to be.
That's true. That's true.
Right
But
now,
I have to say, we've been very lucky. We've done really well, the two of us, and honestly, Carmen Sandiego was a real blessing, and you can't always recreate that. I don't know about you, Greg, but like I hosted a number of shows, but I don't know if they ever had the spark that I thought Carmen Sandiego had.
no, no. I've told people that a million times that I don't even know if look, Kevin's a great host. He's a Broadway actor. He's the real deal. He can actually do a podcast interview and sound like a normal person. I don't know that I'm really a host. I've hosted a lot of stuff. I'm okay, but I mean,
You are so smooth. What are you talking about?
no, I'm just telling you, I'm okay at it, but I know a lot of guys are much better than I am at it. I think what were we talking about?
Oh, Jesus, he's right. God, he's horrible at this.
I'm horrible at this stuff.
Wow, Patricia, can
I
we edit
can't
this out?
remember what we're
Wow.
What are we talking about? I
Well,
don't know. All I can think of was
now that
Kevin
we're
leaning on a post. That's all I can.
We got to get Greg a leaning board. He's
Yeah.
losing it.
Had we been friends there, then I would have definitely advocated against that. Just
I
as
know, right? I wish they could have done like a crossover between like on my show, we went to like a parallel universe where there was an evil Kevin Shinick and an evil Lynn Thigpen hosting an evil version of our show. I don't know why we couldn't just get you back or gone back to where in the world. That would have been a genius idea.
Yes, it would have, but whatever.
Well, time travel. We can fix everything with time travel, guys.
This is it. No, but I agree with Kevin. Now I remember what it was. That I've hosted a bunch of different, not a bunch, but other shows, and the fact that the Carmen Sandiego experience it was a totally different thing. I mean, it was. You got Lynn, you got Rockapella, just the way the show worked. I loved that show. It was just it was just enough goofiness and silliness and fun. And yeah, we too, by our third or fourth year, I think we got up to 4 or 5 shows a day. And then we would have to come back to do the last round always after several weeks. So we do a bunch of those a day too. But it was just a totally different thing. I think a regular game show I would probably get a little too bored, frankly, if I had to do the same thing. Not with the cruise money. I would be fine with that probably if I was doing one.
That's so true.
Don't get me wrong, but
No.
that show was just a different experience. The people that worked on it, and then also just I always thought this stuff was silly, and that to me it's fun. It was always fun to have a giant pickup pass through or a 5,000-pound weight land on you or whatever it was.
Exactly.
This is fun stuff.
And like you were saying,
as
Greg,
Kevin says, very unique, very, very rare moment in time, which when you're, 30 years younger, I knew that was true, but I didn't know it like I know now. That's why running into Kevin again after all these years, still squandering that first meeting, it was stupid because had I known how much fun we were going to have, I would have called him the next morning. But I just figured, I got to do some stuff and I got things to do. Well, that's dumb, So this is thrilling to be able to be here to do it. So.
And I told Greg, I said after we met him, I said he's not going to want to. He's probably looking at me like, oh yeah, the guy who came after me. Yeah. Let's move on.
Why would you think that?
Because that's what I would think if it was reversed. No, I'm kidding. Get away from me, kid. You're old news.
Oh,
you hit the nail on the head with this too, Greg. We were in New York doing it. It shot at least part of ours was Kaufman Astoria Studios, which is where like the Marx Brothers shot there, and all these things. But because we're in New York, a lot of this our cast. You talk about Sean and Rockapella, the talent that we were able to get on these shows. I had the Hip Hop Engine Crew, which was made up of Broadway people,
Yeah.
And Janine Lamano was our first Carmen Sandiego. She's a big Broadway gal, and it's like, you had really, and again, setting the tone was Lynn.
Oh
A
yeah.
Tony Award winning. It was on our show during our show when she won her first Tony, and she's, she set the tone with professionalism and fun, and again, unique just seems to be the word, because it was such a an ensemble of talent that you can't always replicate.
Yeah, I mean, I like going into that. I mean, I like to know from both of your experiences with Lynn, because she was amazing as both of your incarnations of the chief.
Yeah.
Yeah, we fought all the time, every day. We just
She gave me the best advice. She took me to lunch one day at some fancy restaurant in Beverly Hills. And then she went to get the check. I said, no, no, I'll get it. And then she said, no, no, no. When it's this cheap, you always grab the bill. And I was like, all right, that I will remember. But she was
she's
great.
great.
She really was great.
Yeah.
And missed, I mean, she was such a whirlwind. But
I
again, to be able to do all those characters, that's what I think you were saying earlier, Greg. It wasn't just one thing. I never
no,
thought of it as a game show.
no.
I thought of it like, Mystery Science Theater meets, sketch comedy meets all
Yeah.
sorts of stuff. I was learning something as I went along, but, we wore costumes. Again, I was a time traveler, for crying out loud. They utilized the abilities to really make that a show. Whatever show we work on, the question always becomes like, like when I work on Robot Chicken and we come up with a fun sketch, we're like, okay, but why is this on Robot Chicken? Why, if SNL can do the same joke, we're not going to do it. This should be unique to Robot Chicken. And I felt that was the way with Carmen Sandiego. They were very unique experiences that were tailored to that show, and you can only capture all that stuff during it.
By the way, I have to say that your robot chicken skit on Carmen Sandiego was actually pretty funny.
That was the first sketch I wrote. Greg, have you seen that? Did I tell you about that?
I don't think so. I
So I wrote, Robot Chicken. When you first get involved there, it's so funny because it's nothing what people think. People are like, "Oh my God, you guys must be having the time of your lives, so much fun." Cut to 6 writers sitting quietly in a room for 3 weeks, not a pin drops, and we're all just panicked because we have to hit a quota of jokes by the end of the day, a quota of sketches, and
Oh
so the
boy.
first 3 weeks are pretty brutal. Then once you get your sketches in and then we script them, then it does become fun. Then the room is all contributing to make this the best episode it can be. But for those first 3 weeks when you're coming up with ideas, and the thing I learned mostly is something about myself. On a Tuesday at like 3, I realized I am out of ideas. I mean, out. I am bone dry, and it's only Tuesday. And then you dig down deep and you find other ideas, and that was kind of a learning experience for me. The other
Mm,
experience I learned is you could spend all day crafting the what you think to be the most genius, hilarious sketch,
mm-hmm.
and then you needed to come up with another one before 3 o'clock, and it's 5 to 3, so you come up with something, you pull it out, real quick, throw it on paper, and then nobody likes the one you worked on all day, but the one you ripped out in a minute they think is genius. So I bring that up only
Right.
because I was running out of ideas, and I thought, oh, what if I do a like an honest Carmen Sandiego one? And Greg, I don't know if you saw it, but it was basically I'm hosting and I get a call from my girlfriend who says she's breaking up with me. And then I have to deal with that. And I want to go to my girlfriend's house and get a jacket back that I lent her. But I take the kids along with me and all this stuff. And we visit a strip club. We do all these things to help me get over her, but the kids are always with me. Uh, and so I submitted that sketch, and Seth says, "Wow, how do you remember this show?" And I was like, "I was the host of this show." And he was like, "What?" So the great thing about it was not only did the sketch get in, but they had to create an action figure of me. So I still have my action
Oh, that's beautiful.
Evan Shinick from Carmen Sandiego.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love it.
But it was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. That is still one of my favorite all-time favorite robot chicken skits. It's just the fact that they were able to take something like Carmen Sandiego and just like blow it up out of proportion. It's like, okay, girlfriend breaks up with him, gets a jacket, goes into a strip club, Yeah,
I know.
yeah, ask a whole bunch of questions like, when did the fire pole
That's what it
was
was.
first
As the dancer is dancing on the phone,
dancers
I'd
are
be like
dancing
all
to it.
drunk. I'd be like, "Hey kids, when did the fire pole first invented? 1845. Correct, kids." I'm drunk at that point. I think it ends with me dropping them off in the middle of the street, and they're like, "Where are we?" And I was like, "I ask the questions," and then I drive off.
Yeah, that's
I love it already. I haven't even seen it.
I
yeah.
know, right? That's so funny.
Anyway, another thing that I actually really enjoyed from you, Greg, just recently, I was talking to Lori Beth a few years ago, and she was promoting a short film that she was doing that you were involved in, which was Lost Treasure of the Valley.
Yes.
Yeah, so you were this adventurer who's taking a guy who is trying to find out this conspiracy theory about why all the shopping carts are like abandoned, and it just so happens to be a key to finding a treasure.
I tell you, the guy who wrote that and I'll remember in a minute. But I'm an old guy, so it's going to take a little while. But I just thought that was another that was another one of those that was just like,
Yeah, his name is Robert Husted.
oh, Robert, of course, Robert Houston, yeah, yep. Just a great guy, and he wrote that thing, and it was another one of those things when you hear the idea, you think, well, of course, yes, I would love to do that. I'd be an adventurer who tries to do all this stuff, and it's all about shopping carts being lost around the valley. I just thought that was the dumbest, greatest idea in the world, and take it very seriously. And he said, you're going to be kind of like an Indiana Jones guy. I said, perfect, great. I have guns. I get to shoot things. It's great. We have a big dragon.
How have I not seen this?
Well, but I wonder. I got a lot of stuff that people find uncover once in a while and shoot over to me and say, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that one too." Right. No, Rob has won a lot of awards of independent film festival awards for his work there and on that show, and I think Lori's won some stuff, so it's good stuff. Well, it's amazing, Patricia, that you knew that. I don't know how you found that. Where did you?
Because when I talked to Lori Beth about it,
Lori Beth, of course.
Yeah, yeah, she was telling me about it, and then like maybe a few weeks after I talked to her about it, then the Kickstarter happened, and then there was like that teaser
Oh,
trailer with
you
her
were at
and
the very
you.
beginning. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw it. I saw the Kickstarter from the very beginning. And then I think that once it was completed, I think that they like release it for a little bit because afterwards they're gonna like show it off in film festivals or
Yeah.
something. And
Yeah.
I got to see it, and yeah, it was really good. And
Well,
I think
thank you.
that yeah, it was really good. I really did enjoy it. And then I heard that you guys like won like 100 billion awards at all those film festivals, and I'm like, hey,
Crazy.
that's great.
Yeah, it's very crazy. Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
Rob's just a great guy. And again, another one of those things, everybody that was on, it was just a blast to be with. And independent film is tough. I mean, even still,
Yeah.
even now that you have so many things at your fingertips, it's still, I don't know. We didn't shoot that many days, but it was, it was tough. And Rob is just one of those guys. He reminds me of Kevin. I mean, they just kind of get a dog with a bone, man. They just kind of get this great idea, and it just keeps going. They just keep hitting and keep rolling and keep getting, and cool ideas. So, yeah,
Now,
that's
Greg, I
amazing.
don't want you to name names, but on one hand, we've been very.
Well, I won't be able to remember. So
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're lucky. Greg could never name names, so you're safe talking with them. But we've been very fortunate. We keep saying of all the jobs we've had, has there ever been a job that you were like, "Oh my God, what have I signed on for? I need to get off this."
Of
And
course,
I don't want.
of course.
And if you say me, I will forever.
There was this graphic novel
Yeah.
that I was a part of. Me. Oh, I wrote everything. It's my. Oh, great.
That's me to a T.
It's me to a T. It's sure. That's Kevin. That's how I describe him to people.
So funny.
Yeah. I mean, of course. Haven't you? You've surely had them too, haven't you?
Yeah,
Or the
yeah, of course,
jobs?
and those are the fun ones when you talk about them in the past, and you're like, "Good Lord, I thought I'd never get out of that."
I remember there was one, and I'm almost reticent to talk about. Well, I'm ready. Like you said, you don't want to name names because you don't want to
No.
hurt people's feelings. You don't want people to feel bad. But there have been things that I have done where people have said, and look, who knew there was going to be a laptop computer in my life or the internet or anything else. I never thought I'd ever see any of those people from high school ever again.
Exactly.
I knew once I left town, I was done with everybody over there. But some of those jobs, people would say, "Look, this is going to be. We're going to go out to the desert, and you're going to do this thing, and it's you make a few bucks, and it's not a big deal, and it'll be horrible, but you make some money, and no one will ever see this. It doesn't matter." And then now it's like people will send it to me. Is this you in this?
Is this you?
Is this
That's
you?
so funny.
And I don't mean like, pornographic stuff or anything like that. I just mean embarrassingly bad things is what I mean. Just kind of like stuff that no one knew what they were doing and there wasn't any money involved and there was just
Right.
whatever. And I was horrible and
I doubt you were horrible. Let me put it that way.
some of those, and it's some of those to go back to the leaning board and the don't sit down and all that kind of stuff. When the more independent you get, obviously it gets tougher as far as what I think some people don't realize sometimes, and part of the reason I think production is becomes less for me anyway, can become less something I really enjoy doing is because it is. I mean, it's almost like roofing a house to some degree. / waiting in a doctor's office. It's sort of like, you're sort of a lot of boredom, a lot of sitting around, a lot of waiting, and then go with your line and what's my line and I don't even what am who am I?
Yep.
It's for me it's a lot of mental and physical work that not like roofing a house or farming or anything like that, but I mean it's
it's deceiving is what it is.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. You expect
because doing nothing, this sounds stupid, but doing nothing sometimes is exhausting. Meaning like when you're all primed to say your lines and and the stress and the energies, and then you gotta wait and you gotta wait and you gotta wait and you gotta wait. Yeah. And when you do something that you've been putting off and you finally do it, then you collapse. But it's like doing that like 80 times a day.
Right.
You're like, I just want to take a nap now.
Right, exactly. And I'm not I don't have the experience that Kevin does as far as live stage stuff, but I do have some. And I mean, that's in some ways that's a lot easier for me, just because the show starts at 8 o'clock, and so you're going to do this until 8 o'clock, and then once we get started, we're just going to roll. We're just going to keep saying all the thing, moving all the stuff, doing all the thing, and then at 10 o'clock we're all done, and we go have a hamburger, and then we.
But you've also done a lot of live stuff, even for like not the Nickelodeon stuff, and that's all. It's all theater. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess so.
And it's the adrenaline too that I always feel gets us through it. Like sometimes if you don't feel well, you think you're gonna be sick at 7:45. You're like, let me just get when it goes on at 8, your body forgets that you were even sick until you're done. Then you're like, oh yeah, I wasn't feeling good.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Talking about things that resurface that you don't want to see. One of the things I'm happy I've never seen. So ages ago, I wrote and directed the first ever theatrical production of Spider-Man at Radio City Music Hall. This was long before Julie Taymor did her thing.
Okay.
So it toured the country and was coming to Radio City Music Hall. So it was in like Chicago beforehand. And I think New York One, which is a popular news show in New York, said, hey, do you want to have Spider-Man come on? We'll talk about the show. You can be at Radio City Music Hall. You can talk being the writer director. Spider-Man can do some stuff. I was like, yeah, let's do that. And then like the night before, they realized they've got snowed in Chicago. And so the cast is in Chicago, but I'm in New York. And so we said, hey, can we push it? We're not going to make it. And they're like, no, and we wanted the press. So I said, FedEx me that Spider-Man costume. And I thought maybe I could do both. So we got this idea that they were going to interview me as the writer-director. And then they'd cut, I would go off, I would put on this Spider-Man costume, and I would come back, and I'd be Spider-Man. So they said, they FedEx it to me, and first thing I say to my wife is at work, and I say to her, I'm going to put on this costume. I'm going to be wearing it when you come home. If I look ridiculous, we will not do this. If you think I can get away with it, then fine. So she usually gets home like around 7 o'clock at night. So I put it on like around 6:50 to for it. For some reason, she doesn't get home that night until like 7:30. So I'm just sitting in my apartment watching television. And this is Manhattan, where you got no window, no curtains. People are just looking into my room, seeing Spider-Man, watching TV. The cats are strangely aroused and interested. So my wife walks in the door, and I still love this. She goes, "Oh," and then she goes, "Wow, I can totally see why he wears this now. It really does strike fear into your heart." So anyway, she says, "All right, I approve. You can do this." So I go and I do the part. I talk in New York One about my, writing, directing, and they cut. I go off. I put the costume on. Now, just like anybody who's played a superhero, something happens when you put this suit on that you think you could do anything that that superhero can do. And so I came in and I just assumed I could do a flip. And so on
Oh,
camera, I'm on the stairs and I thought I'd do like a
oh,
somersault thing, and
oh.
I just go, what? And I just land flat on my back. Flat on my back. I'm sure there are cartoon stars going around my head, but I'm still trying to stay in the moment. So it aired like that, and I'm just so grateful that because I've never been able to find it, and I'm so glad that I can't, because I do not want to be reminded of how I thought I was Spider-Man and clearly wasn't.
You are my hero. I love it. Seriously, you see what I mean about this guy? He's hilarious.
Yeah.
Hey, if you have time, can I tell you one quick story? Just
Yeah, please go ahead. We got time.
About weird stuff. So I used to host this thing on for Showtime. This is how long ago this was, Kevin. This is for the Showtime free preview weekend.
Okay.
And I did a bunch of them over the years. And this is when Showtime was kind of getting started, and they were trying to get new subscribers. And so they would have these free weekends where you could have.
I remember them. I never left the house.
Yeah. Well, okay, so you could have Showtime for the weekend for free, and then you see all the movies. So when they would bring me in, we would be focused on certain movies. So there was one that was, among others, one of them was Dances with Wolves. This is how long ago this was. So for this particular series, we were going to where the movies were shot. Right, this is all the excitement. So we were on the Empire State Building for
Sleepless in Seattle.
You have mail. Maybe Sleepless in Seattle, or you have mail. I can't remember. Something. Anyway, so we were out in the beautiful hills of South Dakota, where they shot Dances with Wolves, and on the actual sets that were still up a little bit and stuff. And for this one, so mostly these are just wraparounds, where you come in and you introduce the next thing, talk about Showtime, and now here's Dances with Wolves. Right? It's that kind of thing. So for this one, so talking about what you think you can do, Kevin, when someone asks you. So for this one, we have all the cavalry who's in the movie, and they're all in their period pieces with their horses. We have all the Native Americans over there in the period pieces with their horses, and they're all kind of coming out like this. And then I'm probably a quarter mile away on a horse. Now
Oh my God.
The director says to me, you can ride a horse, can't you? I said, well, of course I ride a horse. Please. I'm from Nebraska. We rode horses all the time, which when I was a kid, we did at my cousin's house, ride horses all the time. Broken down, abused, horrible horses that tore things that my uncle had gotten in barter, and people had been terrible to these poor little mean horses, and they were used to buck us off all the time, and whatever. Right. So I said, of course I can ride a horse. And so he goes, okay, I want you to just come running up on this thing, come to your mark, jump off the horse, say your line, and then walk off with the horse. I said, okay, got it. So I hadn't ridden a horse in maybe, I don't know, 25 years, maybe, let's say. So so they got me with the ear, and he says, action. And I kick the horse, and it takes off, and I start screaming. And I'm, I don't know how to ride a horse. I've completely forgotten. And I'm falling off the horse, and I'm doing all this thing. And I finally get to the front, and I fall off. I get off the horse, and my foot is still in the stirrup. And in the camera, all you see is my foot in the stirrup, no body in the stirrup, and I'm fighting to get it out. And I pop into the camera like this, and Showtime. And here's Dances with Wolves. And I walk up, and there must be 100 people over there, and they all just break up laughing. They're all great horsemen. And he goes, I thought you could ride a horse. I said, I thought I could. I don't know what happened. He said, well, okay, why don't you just walk up in the horse and then do it? And we tried it walking up, couldn't do that. We tried leading it, couldn't do that. So finally, I'm standing there, leads the horse past me, and then we do it. And so whatever. That was a very long story. Sorry.
No, that was genius. I hope they used the one where it's just your foot being pulled along, and then you pop
That's
up
the
in
one.
the frame.
That's the one I would have picked. But
Absolutely. I think I've told you this before, Greg. I had a show similar it was like, like in hotels where they're like, hey, coming up, like the movie, whatever.
Yeah.
It was for broadband, which was like the internet before the internet or whatever.
Yeah.
And I just remember we had done a season of me talking about movies, and I was having a great time. And then they took it to like this whatever, like something con to show it, and the director calls me and I said, how did it all go? He's like, great. He goes, the producers just had one issue. And I make the joke. I go, they want a new host? And he goes, well, yeah. It was like,
Wow.
Why do they want a new host?
Well, they got some young, attractive woman who I don't blame them. I'd rather look at her too. And so I was like, but I didn't see that coming. I walked set myself up. I was like, why would I even joke that? Why? What do they want a new host? Well, yeah. I was like, whoa. Didn't see that coming.
Yeah, you can't joke about that. You have to joke about, do they want to pay me more money?
Exactly. Then they have to tell you, no, they want someone else.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Wow, that's crazy. So, I mean, my next question, I mean, even though I'm hearing all these stories, again, our listeners are wanting to go into this industry. So I like to know from the both of you, what advice would you give them in order for them to, get themselves started?
Greg, I don't know if you have any words of wisdom. This business is constantly changing.
Mhm.
I was good friends with Tony Randall when I was younger and he was alive and stuff. And I remember him saying to me, I have no advice because everything changes. I would have no idea how to get a job today. But I would say what's come out of this and what's come late in life for me, not late in life, but collaboration is much more important than you realize. I think no one can do anything on their, I mean, you can do things on your own, but it's more fun, it's more productive. And yes, there are give and takes, but I think collaboration is very helpful. And I always feel that people succeed in groups. I always talk about, like, if you go back and look at a picture of Leo DiCaprio when he's younger, in the background, you'll see like Sam Rockwell or Tobey Maguire before they were those people. You know what I mean? You read, I guess it was Matthew Perry's book that I was reading, saying like, he knew everybody who was up for Chandler and he helped them read lines for Chandler. So that when he finally got that call, he knew that role frontwards and backwards because he'd been helping his friends so much. I do feel people succeed in communities and in groups. And because you share things with one another, you share ideas. Greg, I know, is, like I said, he's self-deprecating, but and I know he says this is my thing, but I'm not joking when I say that you're my muse, in the sense that just talking with you and working with you and hanging with you, it's, you're capturing not a story, but you're capturing a feeling. You're capturing just a professionalism that you want to work with. And so it inspires you to come up with these projects and to want to find reasons to work with these people. And that, work begets work.
That's a beautiful answer. Thank you for the compliment. But I mean, that really is a great answer that I can take that to heart myself. I think that's really erudite, and that's accurate. I guess the thing I was thinking of was, what I've always said to people is, just do everything you can, if there's an opportunity, just do it. And to me, that means, for me, that means whatever anyone is asking you to do as far as any project. So even if it's, moving cables or running the lights or holding the microphone or whatever, I think all of that adds to your experience and your skill and your knowledge of how things work. And to Kevin's point, which is, he and I have talked about this privately, even, it's like, the changes that have happened even in the last 5 or 10 years have been mind-boggling. I know that's not any news to anybody, but I mean, it's remarkable and scary and weird and exciting, as far as all the way it works, the way it works. And I think a lot of people, including the big boys, the Paramounts and all the big shots, are trying to figure out how this kind of works and how you make dough at this and how you sustain. But I think knowledge and experience does help immensely. And it gives you, if nothing else, it gives you the confidence to say, I may not know what's going on and I may not know exactly what to do next, but I know that I know how to do that. Okay, I can do that still. And then I think Kevin's point about success in groups is huge, because with the changes that continue to happen, I don't think anyone really with great dexterity or great talent can necessarily do everything themselves with the way it changes so much. You know, I got a job just recently for a Nickelodeon thing, hosting a thing where I could put in, you can put in I can record it at home and I can do the thing and I can get all the levels and all the stuff. But you know, if you want to come in and direct me at the same time, I'm instantly out of my element. And now I've got to, you know, either ask 22 people or I got to figure it out, or I got to have a buddy of mine, you know, do that part for me so that I can concentrate on doing the voice part, you know, that I do. So yeah.
And, you know, just to bring it around to Host Mortem again, you know, this business is always going to change. That's the one constant, is that it's never stable. One week it'll be movies, then movies will be out, it'll be TV, then it'll be TikTok, then it'll be this, then it'll be that. You can't ever really predict what's going to happen, but all you have control over is you and your flavor. And so when we were talking about the graphic novel and what was the idea, again, I kept thinking, what do I have to offer that no one else can offer up that's unique to me? And like I said before, there are other noir graphic novels out there. There are other movies, all sorts of stuff. But when I said, yeah, but there are none about my experience and Greg's experience. We are playing ourselves as fake detectives. And wouldn't that be fun to see two fake detectives trying to solve some real murders? So I tried to figure out what my flavor was, and I'm getting it out the best way I know how, you know, and it'll be on Kickstarter. We'll do it at Comic Cons. We'll, you know, it'll be on the website. It'll do all sorts of stuff. But, you know, again, the means of getting content out will always change. And what they're looking for is always going to change. But you're never going to go wrong when you focus on you and what you have to offer, because you'll be chasing your tail. You know, unfortunately, with all due respect to agents and managers, their job is to know what's going on at this moment, what is being bought at this moment. I don't think they give much credence to, yes, but I have this out of the box idea. You know, they, until that idea breaks somewhere else, then they'll be like, oh, that's just like this, you can do that. So don't ever be afraid to be unique, be yourself, and find new ways of getting you out there, is my advice.
Wonderful. And a little bit of advice from me, since, you know, over the years, I've been involved in various productions since I graduated a few years ago with a degree in broadcast journalism. But I have actually been a part in various, you know, productions where we had to film various things. I would say that if you are feeling inadequate about your skills, I would say that what you were saying earlier, this is a collaborative effort. Like, you know, everybody's going to have like a set of skills that they're really good at. Like, my colleague and friend who is a really excellent light technician, and he works at a huge, a huge concert venue where he does all the lights, and they also do like off-Broadway shows. He wears a t-shirt that says, "Ask me questions about light. I don't know anything about sound." So yeah, I mean, and you know, the guy, you know, another colleague of mine who's really good with sound doesn't know anything about how to work with light or how to work with a camera or how to do you know, directing or anything like that. So we all have our unique set of skills, and I would just say that you learn what you can, learn from others, because if they have their experiences with doing something that you're really interested in, like take cues from that and try to do your own thing, where you get to be able to, you know, create your own set of skills while at the same time being inspired by others whom you learn from. And yeah, I would say that there's going to be some moments in which you are just dreading going in there because it's long hours, and for the most part, you know, you have to wait around for the talent to be there so that they're ready, and you have to do multiple takes on various things, whether it be with like even a short film or like a music video or anything like that. But I would say that in the long run, it's all worth it because you get to see everything come together. And at the end of the day, I think that, you know, for those moments where you just feel like you're just dragging your feet, there's a lot of moments where you feel like you are enjoying yourself because you get to be a part of this cool project with a lot of cool people who are coming from different sets of life, and they have their own skills to give, and you just drink in all the knowledge that they are able to spew out, and then you just do it for the next thing. And so I would say for my years of doing a lot of production work, or a lot of various jobs that I do, whether it be with multi-directing or camera work or anything like that, I would just say, yeah, I mean, if you have a really strong passion for it, I would just say give it a go. And yeah, I know that it may seem overwhelming because it's like, oh, wow, what do I do? Am I going to be good enough for this? Well, just remember this, that even though that it seems like it's a lot of companies, they all kind of know each other. It's the industry is much more smaller than you think. It's like they tend to know about one another. They know about each other's work, and they've done a lot of work for other people in other companies. So I would say that, just do the best that you can, because if you do well in this company, you're going to do well in another company because they would share about your work. So I would just say at the end of the day, just be yourself, continue to work really well with your peers, and learn everything. And yeah, just don't worry too much about like trying to impress others. Just worry about bettering yourself.
That's great advice. Really
I
great
love
advice.
it. I love it. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, one more plug for Host Mortem, and I'd like to know about what you guys are up to, any upcoming projects that you like to share, plug and promote, social media, all that good stuff.
Well, social media, you can follow me at Kevin Shinick, either on Instagram or Twitter. You can go to kevinshinnick.com. I encourage you, if you're interested in anything you heard here today, to sign up on the Kickstarter for notifications about Host Mortem. Like I said, I think I'm the only Host Mortem out there, so you can find it on, and it'll be launching in August. You'll find out exactly when. But yeah, and Greg and I have talked about this before. Like we have other things we're working on, but I really do want to see this Host Mortem morph into this game show as well. So we're focusing on that as well. And in this day and age, you can't talk about half the stuff you're working on.
Yeah.
It's a little
Well, I
crazy.
mean, there is one thing that was announced just recently that you are going to be a part of, which I'm really excited about, that Michael biopic.
Oh, that's right. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. It's so, and I'll be honest with you, it's so serendipitous because, you talk about, I am a firm believer in that. Take it for the grain of salt, not that you're manifesting things or whatever, but, you do have to shake the tree. You do have to shake things up in the world. You can't be complacent. And I told Greg I wanted to do this graphic novel. And then I thought, well, maybe I should see if I can get back into hosting and do more. So I talked to my reps, and they were like, oh, we'll see what we can do, blah, blah, blah. And then this audition comes across my desk for Dick Clark. And I was like, wow, that's bizarre. And then I said, wouldn't it be great if I got this? And then I put myself on tape, and then they called and said they want me. So I'm playing Dick Clark in the new Michael Jackson movie called Michael. So it was really, it was, like I said, came at a good time, and it was a fantastic experience. Antoine Fuqua is directing, and Michael Jackson's real life nephew Jafar is playing him. He's channeling Michael. It was fun to shoot, and yeah, I get to play Dick Clark. So, some of your audience may not even know who that is, but we grew up as synonymous with music as Michael Jackson was. So was Dick Clark.
Mm-hmm. And I know that guy. I know the guy playing Dick Clark.
How about you, Greg? What do you got going on?
Well, for social media, I'm at Kevin Shinick. And
that was a contract negotiation. He had to.
Yeah.
He had.
I'm anything you need social media wise. You just look for me there. Think of me. I just like I said, I just got a thing with Nickelodeon for a little guy thing. I can't talk very much about it, but it's a new podcast for little tiny guys that I'm excited about. But it should be out. We'll start recording those in a couple of weeks, and it should be out relatively soon, I think. So
Awesome.
And then look for Greg and my tour of The Odd Couple.
Nice.
that's correct.
We're gonna
Who's
try
going
and
to be
make that
Felix
happen.
and who's going to be Oscar?
Oh, good
Yeah.
question. I think I had to be Felix. I don't know. I don't
I
know.
think so. I was going to say the same thing. I think to me, it's quite obvious who's who.
Well, I just have to say thank you guys so much for coming on to the podcast. This has been wonderful.
Thanks for having us, Patricia.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It's great
and
to
if
see you again. It's been a long time. So it's nice to
yeah, it
see.
has been a long time. It's been all about 8 years now since we've
Oh,
had
you're kidding.
no,
Are you
no, yeah,
kidding?
2016 is when we both did each other's podcast. So yeah, it's been that long. But don't
Wow.
worry, it's we're not gonna have to wait too much longer, hopefully, to get ourselves together for another podcast. But we'll just
All
wait and
right.
see. Anyway, so yeah, if you want to follow me on my social media stuff, my blog site is oldschoollane.net. I have a YouTube channel which is youtube.com/oldschoollane. You can follow me on Facebook, which is facebook.com/oldschoollane. I'm on Instagram, which is old-_lane, and you can follow me on X, which is Patty_B_Miranda. You can check out all of the podcast feeds of our episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, various other places. New episodes will go there first, and then they'll go up in a few days on YouTube. So once again, I just want to give a plug over to Host Mortem. If you're interested in checking out their Kickstarter, it's on the link down below. And if you want to have all those cool incentives, whether it be like talking to Greg and Kevin on Zoom or meeting them in person, then go check it out. So thank you so much for listening, everyone. And until then, we hope to see you in the next one. Bye.